Good morning. This is Stephen City from the Administrative Offices of the Courts, Navajo Nation Judicial Branch.
Good morning. This is Yvonne Arvizo Gorman, Financial Services Manager for the Judicial Branch. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Elaine Henderson with Peacemaking Program.
Good morning. This has been Mariano with the Judicial Branch. I'm the IT manager for. Thank you.
Is that everybody from the Judicial Branch who wishes to announce themselves at this time? Okay, not hearing anything. Thank you, Judicial Branch, for being on the line. I'd want to thank Chief Justice and then also Judge Thompson for being on the line and for listening in this morning. And I'm sure you guys will be providing us a report later on, but thank you for being on the line and announcing yourself. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go forward. Do we have anybody from Department of Justice on the line? Do we have anybody from the Division of Public Safety on the line?
Yate Bennett, I apologize, Madam Chair. This is Desiree Deschitney with the Navajo Nation Department of Justice.
Good morning, Mrs. Cheney. Do we have anybody else who wishes to announce themselves at this time? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 3, review and adopt the agenda. Can I get a motion and before we get a motion in a second, Lorraine, can you read the agenda into the record, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee members. Agenda of the Law and Order Committee, 24th Navajo Nation Council. Regular meeting through telecommunication, February 14, 2022, 10 a.m. Presiding, Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, Chairwoman. Honorable Otto So, Vice Chairperson. 1, call meeting to order, roll call and invocation. Number 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. Number 3, review and adopt the agenda. Number 4, review and adopt the journals. There are 3 journals. December 20th, 2021. January 19, 2022. January 31st, 2022. Receiving report A, report from Joanne Jane, Chief Justice, and Stephen City, Administrative Director, Judicial Branch, regarding CS-49-21, conditions of appropriation and legislative concerns for Judicial Branch 1, 2, 3, and 4. B, report from Joanne Jane, Chief Justice, Judicial Branch, in regards to how services are being provided. Update on how many cases are in the process, what is the average length of time cases are adjudicated, and what is the oldest case on record that has not been adjudicated. Number 6, old business none. 7, new business. Discussion purpose, legislation number 0002-22 was recommended for a work session at Navajo Nation Council winter session, and RDC is recommending for a work session with LOC on March 25th, 2022. And LOC to meet with FBI to hear about cases referred to the federal government and what are the procedures for communicating with families. And request for a meeting with the Chief Chapter on the lack of public service for their community and public safety matters. And lastly is due to holiday on February 21st, 2022, change meeting to February 22nd, 2022 as a special meeting. 8, close the meeting, announcement and adjournment. Madam Chair, thank you. Madam Chair, are you there?
Yeah, I apologize. I was trying to unmute, and every time I unmuted, it kept muting, so I apologize. Thank you, Lorraine. So with that, committee members, the agenda has been read into the record. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion by Vice Chair.
That's it, ladies.
Motion made by Vice Chair Otto So, second by Honorable Eugene So. Committee members, are there any questions, any comments, or any amendments that need to be made to the agenda at this time?
This is Delegate James. I have a comment.
Delegate Vince James, the floor is yours. Delegate Vince James.
Nada do LOC colleagues. Do isno giyate. Maybe not today's agenda, but if we can place on the agenda to have ONLR provide a report to LOC in regards to all of the cases that they've been referring back to Department of Personnel Management. I did have a couple, several employees bring up the fact that their cases were not acknowledged by ONLR, but was referred back to Department of Personnel Management, and Department of Personnel Management went and denied their case that they had submitted. So if we can hear a report from ONLR on how many cases they sent back to DPM at our next meeting agenda, I would greatly appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Shanella, we can go ahead and schedule ONLR for next week's agenda. That way we can give them some time, and then also let them know that they will be on the agenda to report to the Law and Order Committee regarding the concerns that you just now spoke about. I also heard the same thing as well, so thank you for asking to put that on the agenda. Lorraine, did you get that information from Delegate Vince James?
Yes, Madam Chair, I did. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and make sure that's on the next Law and Order Committee agenda, and go ahead and contact ONLR and let them know that we will be expecting a report from them. As stated by Honorable Vince James, just a report on cases that they've heard, how they're handling cases during COVID, and the cases that have been referred back to DPM. Thank you, Shanella. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions, comments, or amendments that need to be made to the agenda at this time?
That's it. Eugene here.
Honorable Eugene So, go ahead, the floor is yours.
A same token on a really hot events. I have also confronting some issues concerned in regards to gang related. If there is a task force within that police department, maybe they can have reports. We can ask for the reports for next meeting to be ready for us. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Shuja. Lorraine, can we go ahead and add to next week's agenda as well a report from Division of Public Safety regarding their gang task force? If we can get an update on that. Also add to the agenda for next week, since we'll have Division of Public Safety on the line, an update on E911 and also Amber Alert, where we're at in the mix with those two needed services. So make sure that that's on the agenda for next week as well. Lorraine, did you get that?
Yes, I did, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions, comments, any amendments that need to be made to the agenda at this time? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the vote to accept the agenda. Before we do that, colleagues, I do want to let you know that I'm currently on the road heading to Santa Fe. I do have a meeting scheduled with the governor of New Mexico at 4 o'clock this evening. I think there's like 5 of us delegates who are meeting with the governor today. So I will apologize ahead of time if I do lose signal. Vice Chair, if you can assist me during that time. I don't expect to lose signal too much, but in the event that I do, Vice Chair, if you could just take over during that time. So with that, Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Honorable Ottoso, how do you vote?
I vote in favor.
Honorable Ottoso votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Oh, it's not here.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting, which is Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazi absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. So with that, committee members, the agenda hereby passes. We do have an agenda that is before us at this time. We'll go ahead and proceed forward to item number 5 on the agenda, receiving reports. We have a report from Chief Justice Joanne Jane, Stephen Adcity, the Administrative Director with the Judicial Branch regarding CS 49-21, conditions of appropriations and legislative concerns for Judicial Branch 1, 2, 3, and 4. So with that, can I get a motion and a second to hear the report?
Madam Chair, excuse me.
Lorraine, go ahead.
You have journals also on the agenda.
Oh, you are correct. I do apologize for that, staff. I just jumped from 3 to 5. I apologize. Item number 4, review and adopt the journals. We have 3 journals dated December 20th, 2021, January 19th, 2022, and January 31st, 2022. Committee members, we can do this 2 ways. One is we can motion for each of the journals separately and vote on them separately, or we can go ahead and motion to accept all 3 of the journals, do a second, and vote. So how would the committee like to proceed?
Madam Chair, it's it.
Honorable Eugene So.
I did appendix nizina. I really had to. We jumped. We jumped out of the agenda. I thought it's a big thing. Thank you.
So we do have a motion made by Honorable Eugene So to accept all 3 of the journals. Can I get a second?
Delegate James seconds.
Delegate Vince James seconds the motion, and this is to accept all 3 journals dated December 20th, 2021, January 19th, 2022, and January 31st, 2022. So with that, are there any questions or any comments or any amendments that need to be made to the journals at this time? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Honorable Ottoso, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Ottoso votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
What is it?
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting, which is including Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting and Honorable Edmund Yazi absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. So with that, committee members, the motion has been made. A second, the vote has been taken. The journals for December 20th, 2021, January 19th, 2022, and January 31st, 2022 is hereby accepted. We'll go ahead and proceed forward to item number 5, receiving reports. We have A, report from Joanne Jane, Chief Justice, and then also Stephen Atzee, the Administrative Director for the Judicial Branch regarding CS-49-21, conditions of appropriations and legislative concerns for Judicial Branch 1, 2, 3, and 4. So with that, committee members, can I get a motion and to hear the report?
Delegate James, motion.
Motion made by Honorable Vince James, second by Honorable Eugene So. So with that, we're going to go ahead and at this time, Chief Justice, you do have 20 minutes to present your information. You can call up to 2 agents to assist you during this time. When you are completed with your presentation, if you could let the committee know so that we know that the floor is being turned back over to us. At this time, before you begin, Chief Justice, do you have any questions on the procedure?
Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee. At this time, I do have just one question in regards for the record. Would our branch be the one to read into the record the condition of appropriation number 1? Or would that, because it is part of the proceeding, do we need to just assume that that is what we will be talking about for the committee and those on the line, and then also for the public that will be on the line also? That's my only question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Chief Justice. You can go ahead and read condition of appropriations 1, conditions of appropriations 2, conditions of appropriations 3, and conditions of appropriations 4. If you want to read 1, 2, 3, 4, and then follow up with the report, you can do that. Or if you want, you can read condition 1, follow with a report, condition 2, follow with a report. That will be up to you, Chief Justice.
Thank you very much. The better process would be to go from the condition of appropriation, provide a response, and then go to the legislative concern, provide a response, and so forth. And that way there's no confusion in regards to how we're answering those. And I believe that that is the way that it would best suit the condition of appropriation and the legislative concern, Madam Chair.
Just to be clear, Chief Justice, so what you're asking is you'll go ahead and present a summary. You'll read the conditions of appropriations 1, provide a report on that, and then you want to turn it back over to the delegates for any questions. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, in regards to the latter part of the instructions, I would leave that up to the committee if that's the way that they would prefer. Otherwise, whatever the committee would prefer to do at this time, we're open very much at this time, Madam Chair.
Chief Justice, we'll go ahead and let you lead since you are providing the report to this committee. All I ask is when you're done presenting that you let the committee know so that we can go ahead and take the floor back and ask questions at that time.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So with that, I'm sorry, Chief Justice. I'm sorry. Really quickly. If you are listening in on the line, I do ask that you mute your phone. Look at your phone right now. Make sure that it is muted. When you interrupt a speaker, you are interrupting the time and you are interrupting the work of the Navajo Nation Council. So I would like to ask again that you all look at your phone or you look at your computer and you make sure that you are muted during this time. If you are not muted, we will hang up on you and you'll have to call back in again. So with that, Chief Justice, we do have a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and turn the floor over to you for 20 minutes to present your information. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Joanne Jane, Thank you very much, members of the Law and Order Committee, Again, thank you for the opportunity to present the activities of the judicial branch. Thank you also for others that are listening on this call. They could be other members of the Navajo Nation Council, the 24th Navajo Nation Council. Thank you very much. We are here to present the condition of appropriations and legislative concerns, and then also the office of the president and vice president also, and then also members of our distinguished Navajo Nation people, and all of those that are listening. Thank you. First of all, the condition of appropriation that was submitted as part of the process for the 2022 budget process was that the legislative branch of the Navajo Nation, then also the President's office, signed off on a legislation for the approval of the 2023 general funds budget. And in that process, there's that allowability for the conditions to be placed on various parts of government. And so we have those. We have a condition of appropriation, and then we have 3 legislative concerns. And so the first one, and I'll read it, and then I will respond to it, and then we will have Stephen at City read 1, 2, and 3, and then after that, I would have the staff, if there are any questions, provide detailed information. First of all, we did submit a response, a written response, and so this is our verbal presentation at this time. Condition appropriation number 1. The Judicial Branch Chief Justice shall take all appropriate measures to address the untimely nature of notices provided by peacemaking programs at all Navajo Nation judicial districts. Such measures shall include the review and evaluation of private process servers who are certified by the courts and regularly serve litigation participants, especially with regard to probate cases. The Judicial Branch Chief shall provide a report regarding these tasks, both verbally and in writing, to the Law and Order Committee by the end of second quarter fiscal year 2022. The end of the fiscal year, or the second quarter, would be the very last day of March 2022. Members of the Law and Order Committee, the response that we have in the written report is there for your review, and also review for others on the line, and also for the government. What I will do is I will make a summary, because we have the other 3 sections that will be reporting as well. So I wanted to distinguish probate. And probate actions are found in many areas of the Navajo Nation law. First of all, I wanted to bring up the statute, Navajo Nation Code, 7 Navajo Nation Code, Title 7, number 602D, states that probate actions are to be started and commenced within a 5-year period. And then if they are not, then they would go into a process called quiet title. And quiet title is determining the ownership of land that can be brought into the court system. So Title 8 also talks about a person who has deceased, what would happen to their estate. And that Title 8 in the Navajo Nation Code was amended in 1959. Another part of this whole process for probate is the land use permit section, which is under Title 3 Navajo Nation Code 154 and 217. And that talks about what happens and what the process are for the death of a permittee. And then next, we have the Navajo Nation Rules of Probate Procedure. And those were passed in April in 1978. And then lastly, this probate process also, if it goes into court, is run by the Rules of Civil Procedure. So in regards to the Navajo Nation probate realm, there are all of these different code sections, resolutions, and procedures that have been developed. Secondly, in regards to process servers were established in 1989, and they were established by the judges at that time in 1989 in what's called a judicial conference. So the process servers are individuals that would be people that would be serving paperwork, documents, and so forth to individuals that would need to receive those documents. So that was established in 1989. In our report on page 2, you will see that there is a chart, and the responsibility of the judicial branch occurs statutorily in two places, and that's civil cases and domestic violence cases. And I wanted to bring that up because there is all of these different laws, these different rules, these different departments, these different processes, these different courts, probate processing, and then also peacemaking processes that all come into play. And so we are hoping that we have provided all of the information to answer the question of the condition of appropriation. On page 2, you will see who the responsible party is. Again, the responsibility for process serving belongs to the judicial branch, the courts, only in civil cases and only in domestic violence cases. Now, when you go to criminal cases, the party responsible for process serving is the Department of Corrections, would be specifically the police department. And then also in peacemaking, the person responsible for giving the notice for an action is a requester, meaning the person who is requesting for peacemaking. And then for probate, it would be the petitioner, meaning the person who has petitioned the court for a case. So hopefully on page 2, that will clarify the process servers, because that was one of the conditions of the appropriation. Explain how it is that process serving is applicable, and then how does that specifically go to probate proceedings. Probate matters in peacemaking is not a final decision. It's not at a final decision arena. And because probate proceedings are connected, eventually they have to go back to the court. So the courts come into play. If there's any federal agencies that come into play, that comes into play. And so again, the notice is for a probate matter in peacemaking is made by the requester, and that the process servers are not used in the probate process. So the only requirement that's required in peacemaking for probate is whoever wants to utilize that service. So I know that I'm going fast with this. The report does have the recommendations that we would like to work with the Law and Order Committee, and then also all of our other partners. The request, and the request is that succinctly, for ongoing work that we're doing right now with Judicial, is that we are still in the process, and we have always been in development of further guidelines and procedures because of all of the laws, because of the limitation that probate is in peacemaking. So we have all of these challenges. And one of the most recent challenges that we've had has been the registration, because when you have process servers, the registration has to be made and they have to have insurance requirements. And as we know, a lot of the process services in our communities, are not familiar with insurance requirements of being a process servers and so forth. And so our meetings continue. We would like to work with the Law and Order Committee and other committees, and then also our partners that we work with these services. And one of the ones that we would like to work closely with the Law and Order Committee is that because probate matters are not a final decision within the peacemaking program, because they cannot make that final. They can only go back, and because of court processes, they have to go back to the court. And I think that that's an area that really needs some scrutiny, that needs to be discussed in further detail. With that, Madam Chair, I would defer to Stephen Etcity in regard to legislative concern 1, 2, and 3. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Justice Stephen. Mr. Atsedi?
Thank you very much. Just to clarify, we actually have 4 legislative concerns. So I will briefly summarize legislative concern 1 and legislative concern 2, 3, and 4. Legislative concern 1, the judicial branch should work with the Department of Justice, Office of the Prosecutor, the Division of Public Safety, the Office of the Public Defender, and other entities as appropriate to mitigate the serious problem of extreme delays in scheduling and hearing cases, and to address ongoing problems with the proper collection, receipt, safekeeping, recording, tracking, and production of documents and evidence related to pending cases. The judicial branch should implement all appropriate measures to improve the administration of justice with respect to all of its daily operations and its interactions with litigants, witnesses, practicing attorneys, and advocates. The judicial branch should diligently work toward the goal of increasing public respect and confidence in the Navajo Nation's court system. The judicial branch should provide a report regarding its progress, both verbally and in writing, to the Law and Order Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee by the end of the second quarter FY 2022. And today's report is to the Law and Order Committee. We will be on the Budget and Finance Committee tomorrow. So legislative concern 1, we have addressed that the work that is done is done in community partnership. It is essential for our Navajo Nation Justice Program. And of course, these partnerships occur on many levels, and the collaboration is an ongoing requirement across our justice community, and making sure that the understanding is clear across these partnerships is paramount. We are always sensitive to the fact that resources are required for all elements of our justice system, not only within the judicial branch, but all of the other entities that we listed and that were identified in this legislative concern. Internally, we refer to them as our partners, our justice partners, justice community partners. And so, we work together as best we can with the resources that we are provided with. We work together under the umbrella of case management and the ability to have a case management system in which we all refer to when a case is filed and as it's going through our judicial system. We continue to look and work with our partners as to how to effectively and efficiently move cases through the courts and the programs. We consistently and repeatedly look to how we can help our judicial partners share information through this case management system. The case management system that we use is often referred to as the JustWare case management system. We've been using this case management system since 2009, and we continue to use it today. We continually assess what the needs are in terms of using this database, this case management database, and try and provide as much of this information to our partners and to the public to ensure that the community understands how the courts and programs processes operate, and is also assessing what additional best practices we can implement. We do this work specifically through the Navajo Nation Integrated Justice Information Sharing Project. Been in existence in response to a directive issued by the Navajo Nation Council in 2006. In 2007, this NIJUS effort was launched, It continues today. It's supported by the Navajo Nation fixed cost budget, and the major partners are the Judicial Branch, the Division of Public Safety, which in particular, specifically the Information Management Services, part of DPS, the Office of the Chief Prosecutor, the Public Defender's Office, Peacemaking Program, Probation Services, Department of Corrections from Division of Public Safety, Department of Information Technology out of the Division of General Services, and at this point we also have the Division of Social Services working with us. We're currently updating our memorandum of understanding with all of our partners, and everybody's signing off and signing up for another year's effort under the NIGIS program. The short-term goal of this group was to establish efficient, secure, and unified case management system across judicial and justice components, and begin doing real-time information exchanges and ending redundant data entry. Our long-term goal in this program, and the Judicial Branch working with our partners, is to continue to automate information sharing across all the Navajo Nation government and all of our service providers. And so the NIGIS program has done quite a bit of support and outreach working with all of our judicial partners. Prior to the pandemic, and then even during the pandemic, we've reached out and we've provided not only our Judicial Branch entities, but prosecutor's office, public defenders, with equipment and covering of service fees, so that they can continue to telework and work safely from home and continue to be part of all of the judicial processes. We are going to continue to work with NIGIS and continue to assess and see how we can continue to make improvements in data sharing during this stage in the pandemic, and we hope that we will have some directions to go into as we continue to do reopening planning and begin to do more in our quest to return back to full operations. So that's a little bit about NIGIS. We have additional communication efforts that we make with all of our judicial partners. We realize that in this pandemic, it has become more challenging. We've used CARES Act dollars. We plan to use ARPA dollars to continue to make sure that our judicial partners can work with us, and we're trying to do more to make information available to our community, people that come to the courts for court services and programmatic services. We also are looking forward to doing our part to help implement the recently enacted Diné Action Plan. Was signed into law in December, a little over 2 months ago, and it provides for a lot of multidisciplinary approaches to solving our issues in violence and substance abuse, suicide, missing and murdered Diné relatives. So we have identified our representatives that will be participating in the advisory group that is supposed to be guiding this effort, and we look forward to continuing to offer our perspective and collaboration and problem solving for all of these issues, and working with our justice partners to continue to improve and assure the Navajo people that the justice system is working and is continually looking at trying to improve its processes for justice on the Navajo Nation in the Navajo Nation courts. Turning to legislative concern 2, facilities, we've compiled information as requested. We have our in-house inventory of all of our facilities, and we've looked at all of the high priority construction projects. We just remind the Law and Order Committee that we've had many discussions in 2021 about these projects. We've also provided a listing of some of the issues for expansion and renovation, and all this is contained in a master chart, and we've identified our most urgent priorities. And many of these projects reflect the discussions that we've been having over the last year on the need for construction of new facilities. And so we want to continue to work with the Law and Order Committee, with the Division of Public Safety, on seeking the appropriate funding for the construction of our new facilities, and to continue to use some of the available ARPA to work on issues where we need to improve our facilities, such as putting some of our funding to work to improve the HVAC and internal air quality in many of our buildings. We have that underway, and we will continue to work with the Law and Order Committee on working on our other priorities, as we have two districts that are in the planning process for their new facilities. That's the Anna District and the Rama District. Moving to Legislative Concern 3. Legislative Concern 3 was really requesting a review of the effectiveness of the peacemaking program, and we have done our internal discussions. We've asked the peacemaking program to take the lead, even though the legislative concern placed the responsibility for this response on court administrators, due to the evolution of the peacemaking program and the fact that it stands separate and apart as a distinct entity within the judicial branch organization.
Madam Chair?
It has its own management.
Hold on, Steve.
Yes.
Mr. Steven?
Vice Chair.
Mr. Steve City, I believe your time is up. I just wanted to call a point of order here, wanting to give a formality to allow you another additional 5 minutes so we could move forth with your report. Thank you. If that's a consensus with the Law and Order Committee. Thank you.
Okay. For Legislative Concern 3, we do have our Peacemaking Program Coordinator that we will be available to continue the discussion and answering questions. But when we look at the effectiveness of the program, it is one of those programs that is rooted in a lot of our culture and traditions, and in a lot of ways, it can be very difficult to establish a framework for measuring its effectiveness. However, that doesn't mean we can't do it, but it is something that really focuses back on the needs of the participants in the peacemaking process and what they bring to their efforts to want to resolve their issues, and how they move forward through these processes to attain and some of the things that they feel they need in terms of relating back in getting the disputes resolved, and being a whole family again. And so there are processes that we explain in the process of peacemaking, but the end result is really one that that continues to be examined once these processes are completed. So we stand ready to answer and fully discuss where the effectiveness of the peacemaking program is best examined from. And lastly, for legislative concern number 4, it was a concern that came up during the council session, and from the BNF perspective was really just trying to get an idea of the involvement of the Dislodgine Judicial District in the planning of its new facilities. And so we have taken the opportunity over the last several months to go over the actions that the Dislodgine District and its leadership have taken over the years, and most recently, the involvement in continuing to help the Pinon chapter advocate for the resources to complete the construction of that facility. There have been meetings recently which have also included the council delegate from Black Mesa area, Dislodgine, Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair, and we have provided an update of those discussions and a status of where the new facility construction project is at this point. We also provide for your review several attachments which are supportive of each of these elements that we are reporting on today. There's attachments associated with Condition of Appropriation 1, attachments associated with the legislative concerns 1 through 4. And so with that, delegates of the Law and Order Committee, we would like to stand for questions and discussion on our report, either the language of the report, other questions, and any questions about clarifications on the attachments that we have provided. We do have a variety of program managers, court administrators, and other key staff that have assisted in the development of this report. We have had several work groups working on this since October, November, and more recently over the last couple of weeks to finalize this report for your review. Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Chair Pro Tem, Otto.
Thank you, Mr. Atsidi. With that, committee members, are there any questions at this time for Mr. Atsidi and Chief Justice?
Sure, Eugene.
Honorable Eugene So, the floor is yours.
Sure. Shema, Dorset, Madam Chief Justice. I don't Steve at heading the share. My first question. You said somewhere through your report that you're going to go to the B&F committee tomorrow. I was just wondering, it's going to be the same report what you guys are reporting to us. Because for me, it's just too much time for you guys instead of going to one committee. As not yet. And then the second one, in regards to peacemaking. Before I go on, Steve, I should make a change here.
I'll call.
I could say, I could do it. To the graded order in Hagaki, Western law, ADD paper, we need class. We talk regards to ARS, Oregon, and New Mexico, and Utah. It has Ani. A Quadi Craig Day, a peacemaking day, a credit be built at Harlem. I don't know where they is tweet us on. Ik on Harande are I just be high. Don't have a house. A cordy, Cody, Kagi, Juita, Dio, that has honest on the not up. Daily legislation, the engage a and then you see, but that I don't executive branch a staff, a Chinese age, yeah, has any there's a bit that I don't judiciary. Are in the age of has two dosani, the aunts and uncles. I don't hit change my son that eggy. I don't in the day had caught that and Lenny, that Annie, that and Lenny a height out, sin I don't add. In fact, she thought Aunt could do rather. I have bejan lead lehota. So I by a hot. So she carried the age or anyway. Cut she hunter. The by the hunt, she I up a so what I got you, but I ain't heard it in the seas. I try to get him back on the line. I thought, Georgia and positive way of life being in harmony. I just go not that. So I didn't talk to you, I also be high. Like is mine. I'm going to be 70 this year. My son, yeah, those are say that I can't. Don't know what it's about my son, but say yes, she. I say there's no way in the Hassan. I don't stand 3 generations. I don't none forward to the 3 generation none from my family. But I we're more the wise. I don't or planning religion. We have different kind of religions on the Navajo Nation now. So it's in that case, not long age. I don't 1940 because Ani me permit of a card or least of a car. And the way they my son the one of these cars, but that's his car or the that child. It's a high earmark. If I had young or pick it no, the Bayaj usually that the female you will be given to you. So that way every year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, you'll get some more lands off of it. This male is for eating and other stuff or donating. Could I added the pepper I added hodges for a baby because there's by one permit you don't say that was by the husband that had a car what was on that permit. They never read it. They just took it as it was part of their land where they would sustain themselves by the treaty of 1868. They permit but they never knew that one day, today is going to come where in writing it says it's only the permit, the holders are only so across the Navajo Nation, we only have the ownership of the Navajo Nation is the person that has a permit. We deleted all the others. But which we never taught, what's supposed to be lived. Even now, Yoba permit and leases now to make it even worse, about 100 times more is the home site. So it really conflicts other laws and other regulations and also codes and federal code. It conflicts one another. But state council, only 3 of them too. It would have been good if all 24 councils would have met on it. But because of oversight committees, we are in a fight against RDC, health education, and BNF, and then law and order. So it's not one. So that's the reason why you're going to have to. I reckon you had to do the same report to the BNF again, which you that time would have been for you guys. So so those are the issues now. So this permits and that's where a lot of peacemaking cases are going. And then that's the third one is peacemaking beyond that because beyond the first concern, beyond that they're different. So there's a probate where 5 years quite title. No, it is. I think that conflicts of Title 1, the way I would see it, because if I was from shipwreck and try to get a permit in Sinling with maybe 100 sheep unit, that land is going to be mine with the permit. Would that be allowed by the people that are living there or the person that had the permit, the family, their siblings? Would they allow me to get rid of those people and for me to start living in that area? Joe Craig, it kind of conflicts, a real big conflict. It kind of conflicts with Title 1. It's always stayed. But honest, so those are some of the questions as far for now, but there are more. Thank you. My guys are that's it. I don't understand. Back to you, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a lot of comments and questions. So I'm going to go ahead and at this time turn the floor back over to Judicial Branch to answer those questions, and then we'll go back to delegates. So with that, Chief Justice, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Here at Law and Order Committee, although Delegate So, here at the thank you so much. The BNF committee report that you told us the council. So as we have a report to the BNF committee tomorrow. Those were the instructions that we got. So I wanted to answer that right away. And then although the Western law was although our traditional law or we are now where we are at through time. And so what I wanted to bring up right now is that one of the recommendations coming out of our report, and you'll find that on page 12, is that the probate process of peacemaking is one that the judicial branch has always wanted to pursue and look at the policy and also look at streamlining that, and so that we can go back to our tradition and some of those teachings that we've had. And so it would be good, it would be for us to have a discussion, and that would be among a lot of individuals. I'm having a discussion. One of our recommendations is going back and having a discussion with grazing officials, the district grazing committees, chapter officials, other BIA, other federal agencies, because you are right, Delegate, so that we have all of the different laws. Probate actions have to be done within 5 years. Although I wanted to make a correction, quiet title that one doesn't have a 5 years for kata. I just wanted to bring that up. Although again, as I stated earlier, Title 8 we have to look at that. Although land use permit under Title 3. Although the Navajo rules of probate procedure, rules of civil procedure, all of those. So one of the recommendations that we have as a judicial branch is to move forward with our peacemaking program. I think it's more of our peacemaking tradition, our thought, our way of life. And that, so because we are within a government and we have all of these rules, policies, and so on, one of the opportunities that we would have that as we go through the process for upcoming 2023 general funds budget is to, in order for us to move in that direction, we have and will be requesting for additional staff. We need additional staff in the peacemaking program, policy analyst, although traditional practitioner, although data technician. All of these, the peacemaking coordinator has made a recommendation in order for the peacemaking to fully develop and to fully move towards coming back to us as our tradition, us as how we get together and we talk about it. And so through the years, the process has been that the peacemaking program was a court, and then it was moved as a program. And so there were some changes that happened during that time. But right now, the bottom line is that in order for us the peacemaking program to move forward, to do what Delegate So that you're talking about, is that to streamline some of these processes, to streamline the statutes and the policies and so on. I think there needs to be that discussion, and the peacemaking program would be would be leading that discussion. And so that's how I want to answer that. If Stephen has a follow-up on that, or anyone else on the call from the judicial branch. And if I have misstated any part of what I just said, if somebody could elaborate on that. Thank you, Madam Chair and delegates of the Law and Order Committee and delegates for your questions.
Judicial branch, I do believe that she did ask, is there anybody who would like to elaborate more or make corrections to the statement that was made?
Madam Chair, I got a question.
All right, so with that, Vice Chair, the floor is yours.
Okay, I did thank you for the report from the Chief Justice. Just the question, just trying to get through it. So, but just listening to the report. This is a report pertaining to the condition of appropriation that was imposed by the Navajo Nation Council. So this condition of appropriation, بحز أني بخط اليادو بخلانسني دي تيجو تيا تا إني شيء بكأوت دي نفني شطو إننا نش يا بيسو بدي بولتا بيسو تو if you don't meet those marks دي قاعدة خالد تيجو تو تا إني شدي تو شخليها أجب بيسو نهجة تاين تاهيدو تقول لشنة أكو كوتي بيسو under the condition of appropriation. What is the risk factor for the funds to be tied up at this time for the judicial branch at this time? In the condition of appropriations is something that is not the council's responsibility. It is the judicial branch's responsibility. So where are you at on the marker of fully complying with this condition of appropriation? Because somewhere it is going to affect your funding. The report on the condition of appropriations, a law and order, because we are the oversight. This Congo, a budget and finance committee, but that one no capital maybe the same report. But my concern is the Law and Order Committee does not have the authority to impose the financial to hold back funds. Tomorrow, the Budget and Finance Committee may impose sanctions if you don't meet these condition of appropriations. So as our Chief Justice, and where are we at? Are we going to meet, is your program going to meet those expectations? Because if Budget and Finance Committee imposes this sanction on you, it's going to affect direct services. How are you going to continue to move forward if sanctions are imposed to move forth with direct services? I know a lot of it's going to be about, it's a pandemic, we can't do this, we can't do that. But remember, in the comprehensive budget, a condition of appropriation, it passed. And the condition of appropriation would have crossed and the president signed the comprehensive budget into law. where are you at on the progress of fulfilling the condition of appropriation? General bana sohne qadit a process server dit ego a mission date nishodit ego a na nishodit ego a na adit I did not hear anything pertaining to condition appropriation 1. This is where we are at. We are at 90, maybe 60% complying with the condition of appropriation. CO2 number 2, we are at this process at this percentage rate with fully complying with it. Condition appropriation, COA number 3, we are at this process, so we're at this stage, and this is what the percentage looks like to fully comply with it. Madam Chief Justice, can you allude to us at the percentage rate of how far are you with fully complying with the condition of appropriation? And now, tomorrow is the Budget and Finance Committee. What if you're still at 0% on all 3? And Budget and Finance Committee just says, you're not listening to us. You're not listening to the COA. We are going to impose financial, we're going to tie up your monies. We're going to sanction you, Ms. Dalton. And as a Chief Justice, you are the head of that so this condition of appropriation is under the direction of the ship that you command. Are you going to Budget and Finance Committee without complying with the budget, with the condition of appropriation? Because the Budget and Finance Committee, with all their respective authorities, they can impose financial sanctions on your program, and alluding to the COAs. It's good that you're giving this report to the Law and Order Committee. Budget and Finance Committee or Budget and Finance Committee they report the Budget and Finance Committee is a whole different committee. They may impose financial, like I said, they may impose financial sanctions or they may not. And they're going to be asking these questions. How far, what is the percentage rates of you complying with these COAs? Because these COAs were imposed during the Navajo Nation Comprehensive Budget cycle of FY22. And all I heard is a process server the insurance, they don't understand it. But in the COA that was imposed on you by the Navajo Nation Council, how far are you with fully complying with the 3 COAs? Yeah.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor back over to the Judicial Branch. Chief Justice Jane, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that question and the comments, Delegate Otoso. Thank you so much. When we take a look at condition of appropriation number 1, the request is that as Chief Justice, I shall take all appropriate measures to address the untimely nature of notices provided by the Peacemaking Program. And such measures shall include the review and evaluation of private process servers and who are certified by the courts and who are regularly served who serve as litigation participants in regard to probate cases. When that is taken, when we take a look at that, we did review, and we have evaluated, and that does appear in the court in this report. Excuse me. And so I don't know if because you got the report just yesterday, if any of the information that was reported in the 23-page response that we have did not address that part of it. And so in regards to putting a percentage that, there is no percentage there at this time. The condition of appropriation gives us through the end of the quarter of 2022, the second quarter, which is March, which would be the last day in March 2022. And so if it appears that the judicial branch is not answering these questions, there is that opportunity to provide that, because that is the directive from the council that we can do that. And in our minds and in our analysis, we have provided that, and therefore we are at this juncture. And so if we are not interpreting what is required of this and required of us, then we would need to go back. But I did, and if I succinctly, verbally told the committee what's in the report. And if one looked at the report, it does have all of the measures, one that have been taken and the ones that will be taken. And yes, it is the judicial branch's responsibility to respond. And part of the response is, and part of the measures is that we could go to the Law and Order Committee or other committees and to the council in order to take all appropriate actions, whether it's now or whether it's in the future, because a lot of these things, I mean, the process and the status right now for the peacemaking, it is what it is now. And when one takes a look at the entire report read together, it does tell the whole story and the answers to all of these. And so that's how I want to succinctly address that part of it. And if Stephen could add to that, we have had staff. We've had a lot of staff working on this, and we've worked on it all together. Thank you, Madam Chair and Mr. So. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Epstein, I believe that the Chief Justice has turned the floor over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Otto, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Just wanted to start by clarifying we have one condition of appropriation, that is condition of appropriation 1, and it states that in order to meet this, that we provide a report verbally and in writing to the Law and Order Committee. It doesn't include BNF. And the other elements of this report and what we were asked and directed to do is to respond to 4 legislative concerns. So the way we understand the conditions of appropriations, that they do have the element of sanctions if you do not comply with replying or responding to a condition of appropriation. But there's only one condition of appropriation. The other elements of this are legislative concerns. And those legislative concerns require us to report our responses to both the Law and Order Committee and to the Budget and Finance Committee. So that's why we're also going to the Budget and Finance Committee with this same report, because we were instructed to report to both committees. As far as condition of appropriation 1, from pages 1 to page 3 in the first part of our report, we specifically explain how the peacemaking program does its notices to people requesting peacemaking services. We also try and explain that the peacemaking program is not following statutory requirements for notices that often pertain to the courts. That's the difference between the peacemaking and the courts. However, the peacemaking program does do, and we explain this in our report, does do its due diligence to make sure that these notices are sent out and that the people who are going to be involved in a peacemaking process receive that information. However, we also explain that within the peacemaking process that there's a lot of dependence upon and that the participants themselves in approaching peacemaking process have that responsibility to try and reach out and discuss this amongst themselves as well. So there is a little difference in terms of notices and the requirements for notices. And then we also explain a little bit about peacemaking's historic role in probate issues and how I know that last year we had a full discussion on some of these issues regarding probate, and we came to the understanding that the peacemaking program is now still required to go back to the courts for a court order on any of its activities in probate, but it still can participate in probate, but it is somewhat in the context of the regular court proceedings. And so that is one of the things that we continue to raise from that earlier discussion, and then following up with this report, that there's a lot of work that we see ourselves being involved in and taking the lead on to make sure that some of these policy changes can be laid out in front of us and what's appropriate to address, so that the peacemaking program can continue to do its good work in helping our people resolve the issues that come up in probate, and that's also contained in this report. It's not something that we see that is completely within our realm and our responsibility to make those types of changes, because we will have to interface with the federal government and the regulations in the CFR, and we will have to work with, as noted, other committees within the Navajo Nation to make these policy changes. And then, of course, internally within the judicial branch, we do have some work to do so that our peacemaking program has the correct basis upon which to continue to work with the courts. And if there's any additional clarifications, of course, we have our peacemaking program coordinator, Ms. Elaine Henderson, but I believe I've addressed some of the concerns that were raised by Delegate Otto. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Mr. Rapsity. So with that, committee members, specifically Delegate Eugene So and Vice Chair Otto So, were your questions and concerns answered?
Madam Chief Justice or Madam Chair?
Vice Chair, the floor is yours.
Yes, I'd just like to do a follow-up, if I may.
The floor is yours, Vice Chair.
Okay. I really appreciate and like I said, I was looking at the report, and that's the reason why during the report, I saw a COA, and I saw the other legislative concern. But during the report that was given, I heard COA 1, 2, and 3. That's the reason why I asked. And but what I'm getting to, since everything's cleared up, what I'm getting to is that COA number 1, my fear is that if you guys aren't at a marker point from a scale to 1 to 100%. And you have this fiscal year to comply with that COA. I'm fearing that Budget and Finance Committee may impose some sort of financial sanction, because that is their authority. And although it's gearing towards the fact of the peacemaking, once that financial sanction is imposed, law and order's hands are tied. And that's not going to be the fault of the committee. That's going to be the fault of the judicial branch. This is how condition of appropriation work. On the last council, there was a condition of appropriation imposed on the public safety, and public safety did not take these things to that measure, and the law and order that the Budget and Finance Committee imposed a 10% sanction You know, they may say, hey, Chief Justice, let's put a sanction on your salary for 10% until you comply with it. Even it may even go down to Stephen, because you're the chief of staff for the judicial. Those are just some of my thoughts and just how I've seen the Budget and Finance Committee oversee or address issues pertaining to COAs if programs do not meet those requirements or does not even try to correct those measures. The legislative concern, yes, you can report to the Budget and Finance Committee on that. That does not hold anything to report to the you can report that to the BNF, but it doesn't have weight on there. We know you have your markers on there, and it looks like you haven't still complied with it. So do we do a directive to say we support whatever actions that Budget and Finance Committee imposes tomorrow? And you may think that it's not fair, Madam Chief Justice, but these COAs are not even بني إيد إيجو كتوبن دا تخنشتو الشيء دا تخشيشن ديس كان قائنات آديشي نخاها أتزي نكوه tomorrow Budget and Finance Committee instead of host different standing committee and نيجي إيه بيسو إيه آجي إيه بديت إيه بس نكوه I just want to make sure that does not happen. Because if that happens, each ape not they no finish on it based on his that is strong.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Lorraine, can you hear me?
Just a real conversation.
I apologize. I hope you guys can hear me fine. So with that, with the concerns, the follow-up brought up by Vice Chair Otto, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor back over to Judicial. Chief Justice, the floor is yours.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. This is Chief Justice again. Thank you very much for the follow-up, Delegate. So thank you so much. And certainly we take the subject of appropriations or the condition of appropriations for number one is we got that just for the public's information. So we got that legislative concerns, but we also got the appropriations, the condition of appropriations, and that was signed in this process, and it was signed in September. And so certainly we have taken a look at all of our processes, which we do on a daily basis. And because this process is a process, it's gone back. I mean, and I'm not providing any excuses, but it is very complex. And so thank you for that. Just wanted to tell whoever is listening today that it's a complex issue. It involves many, many, many parts of the code. And so it's asking the judicial branch, which we have been doing, and we will gladly do it, and we will continue to work on all of this, on this appropriation, like taking the measures, and we have taken a look at the language in the condition of appropriation, which says that we should take all appropriate measures to address the untimely nature of notices provided by the peacemaking programs. And so if one takes and sits down with a peacemaking program, they have provided all of the nature. I mean, they have not, I mean, maybe there's occasionally, maybe untimely because of processes or whatever. But nonetheless, I mean, it takes a lot of discussion and more than what we have here. But nonetheless, Delegate, so thank you for the support, and we take that as a support. And we take it as what we can do with this mass complex issue that we have. So I just wanted to say thank you at this time, because it is, we always look for guidance from our oversight committee or just comments. And so that's what I wanted to say to that. Thank you very much, Delegate Otoso.
Madam Chair, are you on the line? Okay, thank you very much. I think she got off the line. So with that, committee members, is there any other questions for this presentation that the Judicial Branch has presented to the Law and Order Committee?
Another, my follow-up.
Oh, Eugene, so you have the floor.
I want to say something. This is, to me, a two-way street regards to compliance. It also involves the Navajo Nation Council delegates. It was defined as appropriate cases. A lot of but we had to also understand there was a pandemic as we speak today. Although, if anything in this if there is an issue that involves our community out there. And it involves in the code. That's where the council comes in. We created IEL and Navajo in regards to all different ways of getting presented or not source and they need to coordinate servers. As aunt and a and re minute it would really help the people. I would see that way. So what I go in the that's how I would see it. It's clear that the needs as council delegate. So that the judicial branch don't have an issue with it. You know, those I said now. Because I need all these the question that not just cut back in the 80s, etc. on backwards. So all these need to be revisited and reamended to make it better for our people out there. So that's where we come in, and we should be doing that as council delegate. That's our main job. But over has only they know they're doing what they're doing, but and then also to make it we got into the pandemic. What's that? COVID now hot agoban sahachi so go. He create based on that on the don't digital it's also in our hands. That's where we need to realize all the 24th Navajo Nation Council needs to revisit and reamend these legislation. I mean, these amendments within the rules within the code. It all involves with every one of the council delegates, not just law and order or budget and finance or RDC or health and education. It involves us. That's what we're here for. That's our authority. But as I recall, you become one. You have one authority when you take your oath. But as you go into the chambers, they take a lot of authority away from you. You're limited to your authority. And that's what I don't really understand why we have these oversight committees. So we need to change these laws as council delegates so our people can work better out there with the people, our judicial branch and executive branch. That's how I see it. That's how I understand it. Only he started has on which what I have in the east. What I has on me. So now we should know where what changes needs to be made, where we can sit down with them and revise these issues. I mean, that the issues in here and then make it better for the people to put something on the ground out there or even funds. But what I go in has on now it. By probate case, I see Navajo. I've been working with them for so many years as a district grading committee. Navajo that you get any you better just now, but that is now what kind of service will become going to all everybody's that is relative to that permit. So now we had to use the Western law to say in regards to probate case that the surviving spouse. They're both gone, the kids, the siblings. That's what I has honest. So a lot of things need to be changes. The Queen's Toy Codona being as authority of fund allocation, it should be the Navajo Nation as a whole. Because the money belongs to the whole Navajo tribe. And all delegates have the authority over it. And I don't understand why we have a government that has to limit a council delegates' authority when they get into the chambers. With that, Shanada Otto.
Mr. So behind the a lot of what you spoke about is pretty much the Bishwan Untitled so the oversight authority. That's an issue that is with the council, and that legislative process needs to be taken care of. and the laws need to change. But before those laws are changed, the laws aren't changed, and the current law that governs the oversights is currently policy now. So, judicial branch. Any other questions that Honorable So has alluded to on his last round of question? Please answer that. Anything pertaining to the council's authority with the current law and things like that, you don't have to answer. But I'm going to turn the floor back over to Madam Chief Justice. You have the floor.
Pro Tem Chair, at this time, thank you, Delegate Altoso Kehat. I don't have any comments in regards to what Delegate So had mentioned. I just want to thank him for his comments. Kehat, Delegate Eugene So Kehat.
Thank you very much. And as Pro Temp, I'm going to go ahead and ask again, committee members, is there any questions to the judicial branch, Madam Chief Justice, pertaining to her report to the Law and Order Committee pertaining to what's on the agenda?
Pro Tem Vice Chair, this is Delegate Crotty. May I ask a question?
Madam Chair Crotty, let the, hold on. Lorraine, let the record reflect that Honorable Crotty is on the line, and she's present for this committee meeting. Madam Chair Crotty, you have the floor.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Siaj. Committee members, I appreciate the report. Madam Chief Justice, the judicial branch. Pro Tem, at this time, in working with collaboration on how to support the Navajo Judicial Branch, if I may ask the committee to provide a directive to the Judicial Branch to identify the Navajo Nation, and realizing this is complicated, what codes need immediate attention, and also in terms of receiving maybe a quarterly update on to implement those codes and to start dealing with the complex issue. As Chair of Sexual Assault Prevention Subcommittee, we're working on certain areas that involve the courts. We're looking at what it would mean if we request special prosecution of the VAWA cases, which means prosecuting major crimes, prosecuting non-native offenders, and what we would need to plan to build up the courts. And so maybe that's a discussion we could have in our Jeanette Action Plan committee or task force. And the other area is the domestic violence issues on Navajo Nation. Last week, we lost a beautiful Navajo woman, Erica Platero, to apparent murder-suicide. And that has really activated our domestic violence advocates. And so we are working on a victim rights bill with Chair Charles Newton, but we're looking at how the courts handle domestic violence cases, the turnaround when it comes to protection orders, and also these habitual offenders in terms of their detainment and how to support the victims. So yes, it's very complex, but I believe as delegates, we have the ability to hear and provide and receive recommendations and how we can strengthen our public safety response when it comes to violence. So thank you very much, Pro Tem Chair, and I look to the guidance of Law and Order. We do need your support as your oversight and how we can provide these services to our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for your request there for the directive and your questions there that was posed. That was going to be one of my rounds of questions to the what you addressed on what laws and policies we need to change. After Madam Chair got back online. And those recommendations are something that the judicial branch should already know where and what needs to be changed, because they are dealing with these policies every day. And to change policies at certain place to benefit or to correction, to actually protect the citizen, whether it's a protection order or a domestic violence case and so forth. And a lot of these things, as policymakers, we hear directly from the Navajo people, this is this I went over here, and this is that, and they haven't addressed this. This is too slow, and you're right. We need to sit down and have the judicial branch give us recommendations on where and what part of the of Title VII, Title VIII needs to be changed, because those two areas immediately talk about issues pertaining to rights of the victims. The other is coincide with the social services who directly deal with domestic violence. I don't that there's some of them that ties to Title 14, the criminal traffic code, and that is a good recommendation, Madam Prodi. And after the vote here, we'll go ahead and entertain a directive pertaining to what you have requested. And is that okay, Honorable Crotty?
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you for that guidance. Thank you.
With that, Chief Justice, can you answer the other questions that Honorable Crotty has raised? Thank you. You have the floor, Madam Chief Justice.
Thank you very much, Pro Temp Chair Otoso, certainly Ado Shadeja, Delegate Crotty. Thank you very much for the insight, and certainly we welcome the working together, the collaboration that we wish to do, and some of that, and a lot of that has been going on. And Delegate Otoso, also you have mentioned that these are issues that we have thought about, worked at, discussed, and so forth. So certainly we welcome this. We welcome having a dialogue. We welcome a listing of, we can provide listing of at least what the different types of statutes that become involved when we talk about probate and process servers and so forth. Certainly we can get that information in a probably a succinct listing and so forth. So thank you very much for that. And we are aware that the Dene Action Plan, we're very behind that. In fact, we have the two employees that will be assigned and have been working on the Dene Action Plan. So we're working on all of that together. And the courts have looked at and have been working on protection orders. How is it best that we're going to serve the public? Looking at every district that has the forms and so on, putting it on the internet, putting it out in the public and so forth, newspapers and so forth. So it's very, very active work that the staff, and I'm very proud. I'm very, very proud and thankful to the work that the judicial branch employees do every single day. And again, this is a complex, long issue. I mean, we're going back to 1959. And so, yes. Yeah, thank you very much, Pro Temp Chair Otoso. Thank you.
Before I move forth, the other is with the probate issues, maybe if you can just allude to the committee on why a lot of these probate cases are just on the shelf, that are just on the back burner. We have a lot of probate cases that are on the shelf there, and if we can expand on that. I see probate cases I hear a couple in Shiprock Agency. I get concerns from Eastern Navajo. I get concern from Fort Defiance Agency, Central, and Western. And since this is a condition of appropriation, maybe this issue ties to that. And I know that you alluded to lack of people, lack of services, and so can you allude to that on your report? Thank you.
Akushi Akeha, Pro Temp Chair Otoso Akeha, thank you very much. What I would like to do is refer this to the program coordinator for the peacemaking program. They work on a day-to-day basis with the question that you have. Yeah, that would be Elaine Henderson. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Henderson, I believe that Chief Justice has called you out as an agent to answer questions. The floor is yours.
Pride, and they're going to make the America. They're going to make
them. Probate, Leniki epithet, what are a bigatish. According probate, Leniki Hana, launch a queer atopa wind eater, had no a coto Nihidanit, Anshe, a hair, coto Niche Hinzi, or so. A co ashi and knee what a Hans Hoshi Shapa with the note.
Ms. Henderson, can you hold on?
Oh, you mean this morning? Or whenever you're gonna couldn't go.
Wait, can you hang up on that person who doesn't have their muted?
I sat there and I was like,
Go ahead, Shmas, the floor is yours.
Okay, so getting back to the answer on probate, Asha need the question line the neck where Lanans and Kodohan Toshi a question about with the note is Danzo Kodon das sauce. Ado alt anche Koje Hashkajanat, Ado Hujonjanat Abadi Niniki a co peacemaking had no equado a hang Toshi epic hadith zishito need. A co the question a not sauce ne a kodo. You see, but with the note in Lenigi Holland, the Hans Hoshi Eddie Quad, the ne up Hodo ya Yikato Ziki Hans Hoshin hit the ne Besnahas Age abundant. Hala de but with the note in Lenigi a Kodo. Beshbehan Kodoho Gatigate out what our a peacemaking session in Dail. Ato ed the ne hinel Yahinail Tahiki, but our eto to Hapohonet Zandat Ahandi. A co Eshik a bit hol Jish. A co I need the question deep with the note Iltons and Gogot or Nel Nahalen. Nikela hot, I keep in the no. Hala tit out the net heat or tato hajoba with the note in Liki hot out epitanel then there. A kotik and hela hot egi dinach ni hat niniki ben nachet the net heat or taheki I ayonantla. Nantla yego. A ko ashin the edin the net bitch ahde bebchen has it though. Binne shitan leo ani hot ele alda shaba with the not ilhan huinzen gogo. Ako dishing ad hajo yahan tatol tato hajon hinanish ket hoto tonliki at bindelnish. E khashil schoe bohna zan the ne couldn't yanto tal hat neniki e bindelnish. E shink abache holjish. Ako ashi atonil. Akonde nakapa honosen nihelto tasitye kwaeke judicial facilities hat nini to basitye god ako ashin hat ahota nakapa hod not in lot dischin de latna I abiga di de ashi khodesh to ashe safun chudesh in John zago ba wint in leti ako hot eben na tlahon dan tlagot ako hot enche nasti to le ako a he kodosha ho
Yeah, Shema Chief Justice, does that conclude your answering questions by the delegates?
Madam Chair, yes, that does. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Chief Justice. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time based on the report that has been provided to us?
Delegate James here.
Delegate Vince James, the floor is yours.
Ik had na nationale ado LLC ado kodo dan judicial branch. Aje has anigi oko di kodo bahna de dish kliki ya in regards to the final decision that peacemaking can make. Ako kwagi has anigi sedala hait ban so case to ha late out hospital nila ako had gita ni hitene linigi o ko je peacemaking je dole ni kota ado ajia ito do ella yitenel nado benato asneto pilse koko ish kojita district ko ajikosh not yahando hot ado nana na kigon na dish kidole liki khalid au AADBIA has under a hot ila as peacemaking, making final decisions on these probates. Ako la ihait ade yan sa case ako akot na kiko pa na del kidolis. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanel, Honorable Vince James.
Hello. Hello.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Hello. This is Chief Justice. I'm still on the line too. I don't hear any conversation. Also, I'll go back to mute.
I believe Madam Chair is off the line and I don't see Mr. So. Vice Chair So, are you still on the line? Vice Chair? Vice Chair So, can you hear me? *6. Vice Chair So. Vice Chair So. I can hear you now, Mr. So.
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
believe
I'm
Madam
sorry.
Chair's off the line.
I was on the line and a date clish gotta stay in a certain spot for my signal. Honorable James had questions earlier and Madam Chief Justice made a response. So any other questions to the presenter at this time?
Shanalik, Vice Chair, also, I haven't received a response back to my 2 questions. Thank you.
Okay, alrighty. Madam Chief Justice, can you respond to the question posed by Honorable James? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pro Temp Chair Otis. So there was 2 questions that were posed by Delegate James. One, that if individuals went into peacemaking and they were not satisfied with the process or with the decision in peacemaking, can it go back to the court? That was the first question. And then the second question was that in this process, if there's a decision made by peacemaking, whether that is recognized by the federal government, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or other maybe applicable federal agencies, and so not to. There's several scenarios, and I will have Elaine describe those scenarios and answer the question also. Thank you. I will refer these questions to Ms. Elaine Henderson. So she knows all of the types of cases that come in and what the disposition is and so forth. So thank you.
Any other questions to the committee members at this time?
Vice Chair, this is Chair Charles Newton. Did you have a follow-up question that you wanted to ask as well?
Well,
can Elaine answer my question, Shanala, Vice Chair?
Hagoshi?
Yes,
let's go back to
we
Elaine.
Can go ahead and...
Madam Chair, I'm going to give the floor back to you. Thank you.
Ms. Henderson, you've been called upon to answer the questions posed by Delegate Vince James. The floor is yours. Ms. Henderson, are you there?
Okay, I can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, what do you,
and that the kidiki a quen hita not a giba henson she hala hot out a ya alketi to eti hollow a codi kodo should she yat a should she Vince James kodo nighten kidiki a Hans Hoshi a peacemaking process probate that they eki she out Hashit out a kodoto yetenel nago the no a quahat heinzi a co hot ash a court gon by Yahanaho the no a nighten kid. Ashi ani quape has on it the holodo be the has eki a ke holon ko hot ashi a top of netza. A con the Hans Hoshi a di con peacemaking gon pe ba Winstein digi. Ado alche khata astiki ado Hans Hoshi e nihelashtra adal yagi Hans Hoshi e kun court kon yato ito nabiki ado tiegi altsko e past got khala kun e be hilnda huilne peacemaking kon atati no e she e kun pa Winston digi e kun e bahaz to e nana tlote e han toshi e pa na huite not il tati ne akwe ke khashin tso e hote yeno haz a han toshi e ne hajo che khata to zigi e bahaz a kondishi behez ani kwege e ba hot e gishi benache e shi a dot nil got a kwege e ya court do peacemaking e a hidelzen ko has got e shi ba danosen a don naden kitiki e di BIA khashin tro e di kwa bel khaz do khashin tro e di kwa peacemaking decision linigish e yedesen the no a kwa naiden kid achinantla khala PIA ya belagana etchiko hashkejanat anhallo e hot alle yenal do yiketi ti ako koja peacemaking jitne abe alche khata zeto abe adole entas egist eyosen gogost enal ni ligi Akwege oyo nantla. Biniya nantla gi edi BIA a grazing permit or land use permit that egi jo a properties no a nash eben nache edi court order a yo kid. Ako ashi on the heat Hans Hoshi edi probate the tos be khatel neho ado le dan de di sto atrasha pa with no ista no e ado na tos khatel ne koko aje nta tos akonde ni hedi ni koko peacemaking gon e jod de ne be all in that ni be da inani dan linigi a hot yenil the probate of permits land use or grazing permit ebe da in naniki it edi nin the hit the neck a John C case on C case a hot out the hill yes a hot out chuni eben na edi kwa hitten the property but they no hot out hitten the BIA hot out nash Nehe koje the nebe eta naniki at no eta hilyel. Hans Hoshi de ade shija anida hatzi delegate Eugene So. Ade and hit hatzi koko edi Hans Hoshi bi haolte. Jono kwa nihel hatzi. To hot edan sanche. To 18-year-old inliki bi haolte da. Khala nije old big eho yi dal adon hit citizen bel haotet Ado ache ya tien leniki e kun khaholo ake hati zeki holo e de andi etadesh nensen Ntsah kes na ta ina sesen dan leniki e andi nishi hashi ni teshi andi nishi pehas ani anilzen ahot a eneta to epic di khai dan sen she khala ke andi holo alketi tinto alche hatotse hajo ado le pandi ke kostedo nishiki andi kun khaholo eben nache e kodon ntanot ai kodo e ebni gen ye chetni ti de kun e ni he kun del sheki aton he tsan ni cesta ato e de nebikeni cheta eben na e di ki hot alban sa kes ko e de nache adi ne de e shahot ato e property de belagana ekoko yan sa kesi ki e da jodishne to kwege e hajoal kedet ni hin koko to e sache e kwanal sos illenigit e khaides inta ado ben hitadn kol jeje hajo kodo ne ya hilte do kwe yanas do kwe shai si kliko e as lage ille e allage e kwe yedesendo le jotati ne eben na kwege regulation do policy hajo tatni do hajo ndo li de nepa ya heki e bakait ni shekhet a eben na nas do tati kwet a e beke I khakko ako hot a cha khato zhiki elto a bahasthe khodo hajo alketi thinliki e bakait e khodo peacemaking do ako ahehe do ba hilnta khuril ne do khodo han troshi alketi troniki kholon do lelinsen hot anche khanasti do lelche
Ms. Henderson, Honorable Vince James, does that answer your question?
Oh, Shanale,
So with that, I know that Vice Chair did have a follow-up question. Vice Chair, did you still want to answer that question?
One thing is that I wanted to point out, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad that Ms. Elaine Henderson, my son, alluded on the reasoning for the backlogs and so forth. And I see here upon the in the law, I guess the codes ananta to say that the law doesn't acknowledge any type of sickness and so forth, but the nation still has to move forth with what they have to do with the courts. And ishibin ya e bias here. The nayin that this kid put it. Alcohol couldn't they kago. Nihita Niwi ahitani lena halon. Nihita yada hashit ahlita ho dande. Niwi ahaje ato hadit ada din hatch ahneta. Dahuilne. Each that eatne. And Dosh had it ego dash nihita nahadne. Intahadnet and dishni. Do you get any type of communication from the courts pertaining to these services that are supposed to be provided to you, the Navajo people? But should the Bishmas the onion snibbish? Did I not kill go? Yape, Nika shit. Bishmas the onion clinicky. Behaz ani to Washington was so ani kid ni ti kaya peso ni so don't that I cash when the funds are appropriated and so forth Chief Justice biyado chita President biyado chita da inishiki bayashki and I guess we need to I would like to have the Chief Justice have a communication campaign out to the general public to answer these questions, to provide these details, just not by a little note that's on the window there to say, oh, we're closed today. Oh, you got to call this number. And even why is it that this district court has not addressed my case yet? Whether it's pertaining to a divorce case or a child that or a case that requires where you have minors at stake health wise, and that's something, that communication failure that is imposed on each of us delegates. We need to get the Chief Justice to get some sort of communication out to the general public. These individuals that have case log, docket numbers. I can allude to one in Tuba City. The case was filed probably in 2019, 2020. The individual indicates that they have not got a hearing. The case, if that issue was filed in 2020 and it's 2022, we appropriate these funds for you to provide general service for the Navajo people, Madam Chief Justice. And I will be forwarding you a couple of docket numbers that I got from the general public. One's in Fort Defiance, two is in Fort Defiance, and the other is in Western Agency. And these individuals are left in the dark. What is the communication process? Has the Navajo Nation courts ever got in contact with you pertaining to your case? And the answer is no. And I talked to one of the attorneys who reached out to me and said, what's wrong with the courts? I have no idea. All I'm going to say is I'm running out of excuses. And Madam Chief Justice, binder, you give us a binder and you say, we need this much money from the general funds. Each courts those dollars are Navajo dollars. Direct services that you're supposed to be providing is something that is on your watch. You are supposed to move forward, to try to, whether it's through the Navajo Nation peacemaking process or the regular courts. But the Navajo people out there want answers. How do we hold you responsible? You're the captain of the ship of the judicial branch. How do we hold you responsible for not addressing these issues under your command? To what I tell you, what I say on the council floor, the world only turns in Window Rock. 야도 이세 언니셔 하시다. I need to start asking these questions in this way. Because Jona dishki. Atanash. So edita oyoda. Oyo hadit adha ziota ikende dot hat. Oh, Tissy case. The lineage in the has in the court. It issues. It's you have the judges that work for you directly under you. What are their hashnen na ya ade their weekly that they hold. But not this kid. Because like I told you, Navajo people is asking me. And but I have some docket numbers that they can refer to presenting to the courts. That way, maybe you can your program could reach out to them and say, "Hey, we're right here. This very case that's in Tuba City involves a minor. That minor. If I can get some answers, or if the judicial branch can say, "How we're going to communicate with the individuals out there and give them timelines." They're not waiting. I heard probates take 5 years. Has that ever been conveyed to those individuals that apply for probate services? The issue of providing that communication is very, very important. And I think that the questions that I'm getting from my constituents and the general public from the Navajo Nation is they don't understand the 5 year, it can take possibly 5 years for probate. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair. Chief Justice, I'm going to turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, delegates. So thank you for the points that you have made. There are responses to that we can provide to you. I wanted to address the Navajo people. I want to address the Navajo people right now. And that would include the individuals that have cases. So I wanted to respond this way. Is that all of the districts and programs, they are responsible for, and they work very, very hard in keeping the courts running. There's the judge, certainly. There are court administrators, there's court clerks, and other staff that work on a day-to-day basis. And each court is different, although the same rules apply. I wanted just to bring that out, that of the, the last quarterly report that we had, over 20,000 cases, and that goes across all of the districts. And that certainly we have known that individuals are calling, and the administration of courts has been working with the courts to streamline those calls. And I want to bring out an example. And this is just not specific to the judicial branch. it's specific, not just to the judicial branch. People are calling the Navajo Nation government. We get calls. The Navajo Nation Supreme Court calls. We have staff there. And they get calls. They get calls from everywhere. They could get calls about executive branch programs or legislative calls. So we also feel those kind of calls. We answer those and answer appropriately. So I wanted to clarify that it's not specific to the judicial branch. That it's everywhere in the Navajo Nation, because we get them. And my staff and all staff, as far as I can tell, throughout the judicial branch, throughout all of the units, that if they get a call and they happen to be there at that specific time, they feel those calls, meaning they get the calls, send them to the appropriate places and so forth. So I think, to be fair, I wanted to say that. I wanted to bring that out because it's been my experience that it's across, but not to say, and I'm not using that as a means to say that we can't do better, because we can and we will. And we do that on a day-to-day basis. And we have staff. And again, like I said earlier, I have faith in my staff, and I have faith in how they have set up their individual court system, because that is what they do. They have the go-ahead, the responsibility, authority to work with their cases. They have that responsibility to fashion how they respond to the public. And so I wanted to bring that out, but again, at the same time, thank you, and reminding us what we have to do, and we can do it better. So we don't take this as a criticism. I don't take it as a criticism. I take it as a learning process, and I take it as where is it that we can do better, because that's how we move forward as a nation. And so thank you for that, and that's what I will. I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chair, or Miss Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Chief Justice. Committee members, are there any other questions or comments to the report that has been provided to us by the Judicial Branch?
It's it, Eugene.
Honorable Eugene So, the floor is yours.
I believe process, and because, like I said before, and I stand by that, in regards to the goings on, not only on the Navajo Nation, but in the United States and the world, we are leaving a lot of teachings behind. A lot are not going with us at this age right now. We can only go so far. But in the beliefs of our younger generation, it's a different situation in regards to our way of life. That's the only thing I wanted to define. But in regards to my way of life, is and later was born in 1952. I'm a Cold War veteran. It's a Cold War veteran times. And in this case of our Kong right now on the Navajo Nation, a lot has to do with parenting, a lot of them, mostly 95% of it. Our crime is going up as we speak, as we sit here and talk about this. There's crime being happening. Which in later, but the violent crime in Chinle is 48.7%, with a U.S. average of 22.7. Chinle property crime is 75.5. And of course, U.S. average is 35.5. and just think all the violent crimes, murder, rape, robbery, assault, property crimes, and burglary, larceny, auto theft, etc. The waiting needs, because we cannot say it's not parenting. It is parenting. Because children beyond the will sat up or baby Harlem shit up or been on shit nest time. You can mud up or been up nest time. You can must send up. As we go forward, we're losing a little bit at a time. And today, as a crime, there are kids out there with markers all over their body. So it's just need an adult and it's sort of we in the eight up a copy to get a stone back, even the t-shirts or like that. We introduce it, all those onto the Navajo Nation. If we had sovereignty to make our own laws to govern us, I don't think those should have been on our coats. We should have had a different coat. Because they don't because honesty. Oh, your Hasuisani has Hasiatan for Ilya. We did it all, Nathan, every one of them. So Tahiya, so it's either. It's for Ilya. And some of those things are just now normal to do and say. These days it's like that. No matter how you slice it, when it has on, it's all up now. Couldn't read it. Peacemaking in a not is had it Ayanas out of the horse at the Shayhation is not as key in the clan. And beyond is not that Yana Rai hold on the Itan. They are the whole is in very at what it is to tell you how they educate the large yasses higher which has the higher hakot of me. Look at in the Hashish. But the property on the Navajo Nation was already bounded out by clan. They don't need to on the pet. I don't take a torch that Ganado, 23, you cannot have Ado Yagan, wait, I shake her to have a cut on has all about on the though there was a head person that talks for those clans. So those are the people that made just keep on there, done died, the Hatali, the Hat A, Yavid Shader. The A Yadas that in chin. They allow something yard the whole up. No, you're going to see that shit the side up or not action and then it can't. I look on the talk and he never cannot sleep. But the RC in the hot yeg on the hot ye condemn of these titles on me or social service, but that is the oak. I don't understand that mainly or most of the percentage lies on the mother and the father, like me as a grandpa. Shishi haul out from me. 8 hours ship on just Casey at the horn. Look at the 1/6 hot eat. On Shin Hashinia that on Shitanel, on Shippy Yard hold up. Yes, there might be white people, but still, there are our kids. In the United States, these secretary Cloud Oyoto has Anita Yotnado to Ukin that Kreto in that they care less about the laws. Look at how many people we see going down the road at 95 miles an hour or 85. Or to Eon should take 8 because she go a could open hard bounds this case though. I'm pretty sure nobody is going to say a lot about these issues, but these are issues that was developed by on the ship as a parent. Starting with me. There's Annie or now or she can doing slaughter. Your chili that they did me, that is bleak at Otta at Adam Psychologist. It obeyed paper for all paper for nothing and so this Halashi. Be say, yeah, it's been nothing by yesterday. So you sign by yesterday. So that's such charm. 8 hours of a by yesterday. In this Ahalan at Ashen at Nissan. The Hashem bounces case harms that's harsh what don't need. I could add in this case, are we ready for them? If anything, physically harm is going to come to them in the future in regards to what's going on in Congress. A court about this case. But actually, could you parent the army or because on ancient has a luck, but it has an unmeeting like if there is some issues that lies within the code that's not really putting anything on the ground, for the people, or some funds not materializing on the ground, that's where we come in. Where's the issue? What language is it? Which section is it? Let's change that legislation, and let's change the rules, and let's get this section out of the way, or put it in a better way where we can see our funds to materialize on the ground. And then again, we think about percentage per, how many people per acres. 1,256 square miles. And if you count the whole reservation, pretty sure it's a whole lot. And how many per police should we have by law? By funds, we don't have that. And also the 638 contracts, I'm pretty sure, I don't know what data is they're using. I heard it was 15 years, some of them. So they would need to be revisited and negotiated with Congress. But they're called on deep has on does but when I put something on the floor, the council delegates always put it aside or put it as a work session. But these are some concerns that I have, and they're all more coming on to the floor. And I'm pretty sure if we go by our oath of office, we should all be in one person to approve these kind of legislation that needs on the ground over here on the Navajo Nation. It should be chance you didn't those codon between it all and me so money yes, because I know as a Fish and Wildlife, I met with them with the rangers, the police department. I know there's not enough money for personnel out there, officers to enforce these laws. I heard just the other day we got only 4 rangers across the Navajo Nation. What good is that going to do? We don't have the money for those kind of stuff no more. If we had to consider, as a council delegate, we consider those things, in these kind of situations that what we're having, and we need to really educate our people in that regards. I need us wash the way to Sunday, not world not that's not idle that's it. I need what the but that's the reason why is we have 4 oversights. And we don't go out to the people. And like in my chapter, I don't have Key Ellen every chapter meeting to report for me, or Jimmy Yellowhair, or Carl Slater to report for me. Every chapter house to report his oversight. If that's the case, that was how it was, and then I wouldn't have to try to understand what is going on in our government. To me, I'm sorry to say, but it's game related. A government right now, we need to get together and be one and start planning for our people, all 3 branches. I need Kilongo, case, so this is where we're at right now. But I know you guys are doing your best and try to make everything work for the people, because of money-wise, we don't have it. And then also needs a lot of legislation needs to be changed within the codes. Personally, thinking about it, I was seeing this way. In the Navajo Nation government, and we do need to revise a lot of codes, etc. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Shija, Honorable Eugene. So with that judicial branch, do you have any comments or any questions? Or I shouldn't say questions, but do you have any answers to the comments that have been provided by Delegate Eugene? So,
Madam Chair, thank you. This is Chief Justice Dane again. Here had Delegate. So, Janan Khenzi, thank you for the support. That'll be the end of my comments, Madam Chair and Delegate. Eugene So. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that, Chief Justice. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time? Not hearing anything, we do have a motion and a second established. So we'll go ahead and go to the vote to accept the report. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Honorable Otto, how do you vote?
Red.
Honorable Otto votes red. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Vote is out.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes red.
Honorable Vince James votes red. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote?
Red.
Honorable Edmund Yazzie votes red.
No, they're voting to accept the report. They're not accepting the report.
Make sure your phone is on mute. You're interrupting our vote. Go ahead, Sherelle.
Okay, could I get Honorable Edmund Yazzie's vote again? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair, you have 1 in favor, 2 opposed, and 2 not voting, which is including Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, thank you for the report, Chief Justice. We do have another report by the Judicial Branch. This is Report B. And this is a report by the Chief Justice Joanne Jane, Judicial Branch, in regards to how services are being provided, update on how many cases are in the process with courts, what is the average length of time cases are adjudicated, and what is the oldest case on record that has not been adjudicated. So with that, committee members, can I get a motion and a second to hear the report?
Delegate James motion.
Motion made by Delegate Vince James. Can I get a second?
Okay, seems to it.
Second made by Honorable Eugene. So with that, Chief Justice, you have presented to this committee before. I don't think we have to go through the process and the procedure again. Please, everyone who is listening in, make sure your phone is on mute. With that, Chief Justice, the floor is yours for 20 minutes to present your information.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the Law and Order Committee. My name is Joanne Jane. For those that maybe just have joined, I'm Tkapahe Ado Kenya Ani Bashin, Twitchini Dashiche Ado Tkapahe Dashinella Hiha. Members of the committee, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I would like to refer this question to the report to Stephen at City and Karen Francis at this time, who have prepared, along with other staff members, a response. Thank you, Madam Chair. And they have the details. They can share the details at this time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Chief Justice. And then also, committee members, after this report, we do have a directive that we do need to vote on. I hope that that directive has been written up. But again, that was not addressed after the first report. We'll address it after the second report. So with that, we do have Karen Francis and also Mr. Stephen Atsidi, who will be presenting the report to us today. The floor is yours, Mr. Atsidi, Ms. Francis.
Good afternoon, members of the Law and Order Committee. This is Karen Francis. I am the Government Relations Officer for the Judicial Branch of the Navajo Nation, and I will be.
Yeah, Karen, I'm also on the line. Steve at City.
Okay, I'll give a summary and then I'll defer over to Mr. Ed City. The question is in regards to how services are being provided, an update on how many cases are in the process, what is the average length of time cases are adjudicated, and what is the oldest case on record that has not been adjudicated. So I will go ahead and answer the questions on the services. All our courts and programs are operating during the COVID-19 pandemic. We do have an administrative order in place. It's Administrative Order 14-2020, and that has been in place since March 24th, 2020. And all our courts and programs are abiding by that administrative order. It is on our website if anyone wants to take a look at that. It does allow for the judicial branch to weigh the rights of each person and the collective rights of the people as recognized under Dinembe Bena Hazani. And it also allows us to provide essential services and maintain the rule of law during the pandemic. In addition, the judicial branch has also adopted a roadmap to full capacity that is in place to ensure a phased approach to expanding services beyond the essential services that our courts and programs are providing. And with this roadmap, our courts and programs must ensure that there are protocols in place to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and to ensure the health and safety of our employees and the public. So these two documents are the main two documents that are providing the framework for the services that are being offered at this time during the pandemic. In addition, the judicial branch keeps the public informed of how to contact the courts and programs for services through our main conduit, the website, our social media, newspaper ads, and also our radio spots. So we've been putting the information out there as best as we can through these various means. And the judicial districts and the programs also work with their local communities to keep them informed through various means such as chapter meetings and other community meetings. Going to court services, staff are in the court buildings every day to conduct business, Monday through Friday, and most of them are working in rotating shifts to mitigate COVID-19. The Navajo Nation courts are accepting all case filings, and these filings may be given to the court by U.S. mail, email, fax, email, fax, or Dropbox at most of the district courts. And then the Supreme Court accepts by U.S. mail, email, or fax.
Thank you for this.
All our courts have an email address for people to send documents, and all the district courts have drop boxes where documents may be left, and the courts check these drop boxes regularly. The courts are holding hearings on all essential cases, and these essential cases include all criminal proceedings concerning an incarcerated defendant, proceedings concerning detained juveniles, abused or neglected minors, habeas corpus actions, involuntary commitment hearings, extraditions and federal detainers, order to show cause proceedings, applications for orders of protection and matters of enforcement, applications for injunctive relief, and the court will also hold proceedings that are essential to the public health state of emergency. And some of our courts are hearing cases beyond these cases that I just enumerated, and some of them are holding hearings in probate, and some are holding hearings on all case types. These hearings are being held by telephone or video conference, and again, that is to mitigate COVID-19. No in-person hearings are being held at this time. We do have applications for domestic abuse protection order that are available on our website for download. And some of our courts also make those available outside their courthouses, or people are able to contact the court to obtain a copy if they're not able to download and print one out on their own. Fines or fees can be paid by mailing a money order to the court, and our courts are also able to accept credit card payments for civil traffic fines by telephone. So people can call up the court if they have to pay for a civil traffic fine. If one of our judicial branch facility closes, we post that on our website with any necessary instructions for contacting the court during the building closure. When the facility closes, the services continue, and we'll include the information on our website as to how to contact the court and any other information that is needed while the building only is closed. Our staff continue to work. And then if there's any questions that anyone has about court services or something for the court, they are able to call those courts for more information. And if there's no answer, they can leave a message and staff will respond as soon as they can. I'm going to go over to Peacemaking Program, and they are continuing to comply with the safety protocols by adapting to technology, and they use cell phones to keep in-person contact with the public to a minimum. However, the intake process is still the same. Peacemaking Program is providing services in our Navajo language, and they provide the following services: promoting a non-adversarial forum for dispute resolution, facilitating court-ordered peacemaking sessions through virtual telephonic means, providing traditional life value engagements to court-ordered participants in detention facilities, and providing sentencing recommendations to the court using peacemaking engagements. Staff go into the office on a schedule and also work remotely. They are attending community meetings and recruiting for peacemakers. I will go on to probation services. Probation services at this time are teleworking, and all their duties and responsibilities are continuing. The communications are conducted virtually. They are providing adult and juvenile supervision on court-referred cases, including monitoring clients who are court-ordered to complete community service work, completing pre-sentence and predisposition investigations and reports, accepting and processing applications for legal counsel and indigency assessment, participating in certain telephonic hearings as required, and providing services telephonically for services such as client report-in, resource referrals, for example, counseling, and treatment case staffing. Probation officers are available by telephone for services, and these numbers are provided to clients, service providers, and agencies that they work with regularly. These numbers are also available on the advertisements that we put out and on our website. Probation Services has been holding weekly roundtable discussions with their staff to help them perform their work consistently and to handle cases to provide that adequate and efficient service for the people. For the information on case statistics, I'm going to hand that over to Mr. Edsity.
Mr. Edsity, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The response to the question and update on how many cases are in the process, the answer can be found in our quarterly report on the total number of pending cases currently in the Navajo Nation courts. This statistical reporting was for the first quarter of this fiscal year, which goes from October 2021 to December 2021. It is the total number for all courts within the judicial branch. The total pending cases currently is identified at 24,564 cases. And of course, our quarterly report was provided to the executive branch leadership and the legislative branch, all the delegates of the Navajo Nation Council, prior to the winter session in late January. And the quarterly reports are always posted on our Judicial Branch website once they've been submitted, and they are made available through that to anybody who wants to take the time to read them or look at any particular aspect of the Judicial Branch operations for that quarter. The other two questions, in terms of the average length of time cases it takes for a case to get adjudicated, the question is, what is the average length of time cases are adjudicated? We got a copy of the agenda on Friday, and we began starting to look at how we would analyze this question and what types of information we would present for our response. And at this time, it's going to take us a few more weeks to put this information together. We do not have one average length of time. We have several case types, and sometimes, those case types have multiple adjudications that occur at different stages. And then also we have cases that have statutory created timelines. And so we ask the indulgence of the Oversight Committee, our Law and Order Committee, if we could have some more time to put this information together so that you can see across the various case types the amount of time that it takes on an average basis for these cases to go through the Judicial Branch processes, and to see that we're clear on that adjudication sometimes refers to formal decisions that can happen at various stages of a case, and that we're also looking at finality of dispositions and closing of cases, so that we are addressing the information requested by the Law and Order Committee. It's going to take us some more time to put that information together. The last question that's posed by the Law and Order Committee is, what is the oldest case on record that has been adjudicated? We have looked into our Justware case management system, and we have looked at the cases that go back to 2013 that are in our system, and we do have cases that are that old, but we also have cases that were being converted and uploaded into our Justware system when that Justware system came into use in the 2010 to 2012 conversion period. That's when we launched Justware to be our new case management system. We find that we do have cases that are older than 2013, and it's going to take us a little bit more time to go through our district courts and to put that information together so that we can definitively find what the oldest case is that's currently within the Judicial Branch that has not been adjudicated. So at this point, our information is not complete as far as the oldest case, and we should have that information available within the next couple of weeks. Madam Chair, I stand for additional questions. along with Ms. Karen Francis and members of the Judicial Branch.
Thank you for that, Mr. City, and then also Ms. Karen Francis. Thank you for your report. So with that, committee members, are there any questions or any comments to the report that has been provided to us today? Not hearing anything. Sherelle, I'm sorry, can you remind me, did I get a motion and a second on this report?
Yes, Madam Chair. Motion made by Honorable Vince James and second by Honorable Eugene So, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. So it doesn't sound like any of the committee members have any questions at this time. So we're going to go ahead and proceed forward to a roll call vote. Sherelle, can you assist with that?
Honorable Addison, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate Fan votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Vote Cortez.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazi, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting, which is including Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, Honorable Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazi absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, Judicial Branch, your report is hereby accepted. We thank you for your time, and we thank you for putting together these reports for us and also answering the questions that have been posed here by the Law and Order Committee. So with that, you are hereby excused, Judicial Branch.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, you're welcome, Ms. Francis. We do have, Lorraine, did you get the directive?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. On the directive is, what I got is what Navajo Nation Code needs immediate attention, update on special prosecution, domestic violence issues, and how does the court handle domestic violence cases, and what's the turnaround on these cases? Madam Chair.
So those are the questions that are posed in the directive. Is this a, I don't know, Delegate Crotty, are you still on the line?
Yeah, this is Delegate Crotty. I'm on the line.
Delegate Crotty, I know you did request a directive from the Law and Order Committee regarding the Judicial Branch and some reports that needed to be made. Are you asking that these reports be made verbally to the Law and Order Committee, or would you like a written report from the Judicial Branch in terms of this directive?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the directive that has been drafted by Legislative Council, it does state a written and verbal report to the Law and Order Committee. So I appreciate if the committee can consider that, as this conversation has been very helpful in helping us understand some of the challenges with judicial. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members.
Thank you for that, Delegate Crotty. Lorraine, go ahead.
I just wrote this down, but I'm not too sure if there's one from Legislative Council.
Can you check your email and check to see if the directive has been written by legislative?
Let me check it again. Hold on.
Yeah. Honorable Madam Chair.
Chair.
Sherelle, is that you?
Yes. The directive was sent from Chad Abeda at 1 o'clock to myself, you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair Otto So, Honorable Amber Knausbach Crotty, which was CC'd by with Honorable Eugene So, Honorable Vince James, Honorable Edmund Yazzie, and Dana Bobroff. I did forward the email to Lorraine just a while ago, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sherelle. Can you go ahead and read that directive into the record?
Yes, Madam Chair. The directives reads, the Navajo Nation Judicial Branch is hereby directed to provide a written and verbal report to the Law and Order Committee within 60 days to provide a comprehensive list and any funding required that identifies law and policies that need revision to improve systematic issues within the judicial branch. Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. Delegate Crotty, the Law and Order Committee is willing to vote on this directive right now. Is the language correct?
Oh, yes, Madam Chair, yes, the language is correct. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So with that, committee members, we do have a directive before us, and it has been sent to us. It has been read into the record. Chad, are you on the line?
Oh, Chair, I'm here.
Chad, remind me again, do I get a motion and a second on a directive and then we go to vote? Is that correct?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you for that, Chad. So with that, committee members, I do need a motion and a second for the directive that is currently in place right now.
Bailey sees it.
Motion made by Honorable Eugene So. Can I get a second? Second call, can I get a second for the directive that was sent out to us by Ms. Bobroff around 1 o'clock this afternoon?
Second, Delegate James.
Second by Honorable Vince James. So with that, committee members, are there any questions or any comments regarding this directive? Otherwise, if nothing, we're going to proceed forward to the vote.
That's it, Eugene.
Honorable Eugene So, do you have a question?
Oh.
The floor is yours.
Courted, ever since Chief Justice Commission how this snagged out of the has the directive Eliagi in the has to all it's it all without condition on this. This was only to need snow has the allocated out up behind nanas the auto coins Hassan Hafdelia. A cut up in a page all this. But the only thing is a question is the resource or health education committee was on a style. I led the he connect within their committee the bylaws he don't know how and that's it. That's true. Okay. Other creation you have to see the way we keep it as a record. My LDA keeps it as a record. It was even it was read to me where it says I have no authority within those committees. I credit off the question. Thank you.
Delegate Eugene, so I'm a little bit confused. Are you asking me whether you have the authority in RDC to make directives?
What I mean is that just Crowley has you about Diana Sad Banija. I could add it also has other RDC this year. The Hise Bahosing LOC are other official other council and the business initial as part of the LOC or whatever they're going to say to buy in them. But as I said, RDC see Yego no yes just show what is the credit yet of another sure credit yet. The company change it. I didn't but it doesn't say sponsor who So criteria, but all criteria not executed.
Thank you for that, Honorable Eugene. So I will say that as chair of the Committee for Law and Order, we do listen to other delegates who are on the line, and we do take recommendations in terms of directives and also any recommendations that they might have. The Law and Order Committee runs differently than RDC. We welcome all delegates to come forward to ask questions, and then also, again, as I stated, make recommendations to the committee on actions that need to be taken. In this case, Delegate Crotty did state on the record that she is the chair for sexual assault prevention, the subcommittee, and her subcommittee does need some information from the judicial branch, and the Law and Order Committee also needs that information as well. So I will say to you, Shija, Honorable Eugene, so I too was told by RDC, the legislative advisor at that time, Shami Begay, that I had no authority and could not ask any questions at RDC committee. I was a little bit surprised when I got that when that was stated on the record by a legislative advisor, a staff, and not by a delegate. I did challenge it, but at the time, Chair Rick Nez said that he agreed with the legislative advisor, who's been the advisor there for years. So I ran into that same situation as well, Delegate Eugene. So I think the only thing that can be done is to bring it up to Speaker Duri Navikievka and to ask the questions of how other delegates can be involved when reports are provided to the committee. That is the recommendation that we can give at this time. But again, as I stated, Law and Order Committee, we are willing and we have always accepted working with other delegates on issues that do affect the community and the Navajo Nation as a whole. So with that, Delegate Eugene So, I hope that answers your question or at least addresses your concern. If you have no other questions, we can go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. Delegate
Okay,
Eugene So.
So, I have Daniel Soul hear my concerns on his committee too, but BNF and also especially the RDC AIC told you has so even if there's other ways they need to get that legislation is coming forth, maybe with spring session, one committee as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Delegate Eugene So. So with that, committee members, are there any other questions or comments at this time regarding the directive? Not hearing anything, a motion and a second has been established. Let's go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Okay, Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair, Charles Newton, you have 3 in favor, 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting, which is including Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, Honorable Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, the directive does hereby pass. Lorraine, make sure that you got the directive language ready. I will be in Window Rock tomorrow ready to sign all the documents that need to be signed. So with that, committee members, we are now down to item number 6, old business. There is none. We have also item number 7, new business. We have discussion topics that need to be addressed at this time. So we do have discussion topic legislation number 0002-22, a legislation that was recommended for a work session at the Navajo Nation Council winter session and RDC. They are recommending that we schedule the work session with RDC on March 25th, 2022. If that date is good for everybody, then we can go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. Can I get a motion and a second on this discussion topic so that we can let RDC know that we're good with March 25th, 2022? Second call for a motion and a second to schedule a meeting with RDC on March 25th, and this is the legislation
Second or
0002-20.
thread?
We need a motion.
One of the threads. Motion by Delegate James.
Motion made by Honorable Vince James. Can I get a second?
Okay.
Second by Honorable Eugene So. Let's go ahead and proceed forward to the vote. And again, this is for the date of March 25th to have a joint RDC meeting regarding 0002-22. Cheryl, can you assist us with roll call vote, please?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting, which is including Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, Honorable Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Cheryl. Lorraine, if you could go ahead and get the letter out to RDC, letting them know that we do accept the March 25th, 2022 date for the work session on legislation 002-22. Next item on the agenda, this doesn't require a motion or a vote. This is actually just a discussion topic. No date has been selected. But we have been getting several requests from the community, specifically the missing murdered Indigenous women. There are many families that have made requests to the FBI, and there have been no communication coming down from the federal government regarding cases that involve our Navajo people. I recently met with one family, and I did try to reach out to the victim's advocate to see if we can get services for the family, but the victim's advocate was very, very rude, and she just told me that she is not willing to work with the Navajo family and that we can contact her supervisor. And so I don't really know what the situation was, but I did try to contact her supervisor. It's been almost a year and I still haven't received a response yet. What I would like to see is that we bring out the FBI and the AUSA who handle cases that are being referred to the federal government and have them answer questions on the procedures with communicating with families when cases do proceed forward to the federal government. We have a lot of our Navajo people who are not aware of the services that are provided by a victim's advocate. And in this family that I was working with, they didn't even know that they could have a victim's advocate. So we do need to improve that communication to our Navajo people. So the reason why it's on the new business as a discussion topic is I would like to ask the committee if we could go ahead and select a date, maybe sometime in June or July, and invite the FBI and the Attorney General's Office for the United States to come to the Navajo Nation and to provide our families information on what they can expect in the event that their cases are referred to federal government for prosecution. Again, no date has been selected, but I do want to put this on the radar for the Law and Order Committee members so that we are aware that we are requesting this as a committee on behalf of the Navajo Nation Council for the Navajo people here on the Navajo Nation. So are there any questions or comments on this? If we're good with that, what I'll do is I'll start working towards a date, and I'll work with Lorraine and also Nikita Kirk and also the Chief of Staff, Sherilyn Yazzie, to put together a letter that we can send to the FBI and to AUSA to ask them to come out again to Navajo Nation once a date is selected. Then to start moving forward and advertising that information to our Navajo families so that they can get a little bit more information directly from the federal government on what they can expect for these procedures. So again, if you guys want, we can talk a little bit more about that. But in this case, it's just a suggestion. If we're good with it, I'll go ahead and start moving forward on that letter, and then we can have an official vote at that time once a date is selected, and then what the next steps are going to be. Are there any questions? Not hearing anything, we'll go ahead and move down to the next item on the agenda. Under new business, we do have a request from Lachee Chapter for a meeting regarding the lack of public service for their community and other public safety matters. So with that, we do need a motion and a second. But before that, I know that we did have Delegate Paul Begay on the line. Delegate Paul Begay, are you still with us? Second call, Delegate Paul Begay. Or do we have anybody from Lachee Chapter on the line? Lorraine, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello? Okay. Okay. We don't know what date does that look. I guess, Lorraine, do you know what date Lachee Chapter wants us to meet there in Lachee?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, no date was given.
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't you reach out to Delegate Paul Begay and to the Lachee Chapter, ask them what date they want us to be out there, and then we'll put this back on the agenda next week with the date and then the time, and then we can go ahead and vote on it from there.
Okay, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Last item on the agenda under new business, we do have a holiday on February 21st, which is our regular Law and Order Committee date. However, because it's a holiday, we're going to go ahead and move that to February 22nd, 2022, and that will be a special meeting. So with that, this will need to be voted on. Committee members, can I get a motion and a second? Motion made by Honorable Eugene So. Can I get a second?
Second, Delegate James.
Delegate Vince James, second. So with that, are there any questions, comments regarding the special meeting? Not hearing anything. Cheryl, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
Oh, Dr. Is
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting, which is including Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, Honorable Ottoso not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, we do have a meeting scheduled February 22nd, 2022 at the regular time, 10 o'clock a.m., and this will be a special meeting. So with that, we move down to item number 8, close of the meeting. Before I call for a motion to adjourn, are there any announcements at this time? Okay, not hearing anything. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
Madam Chair.
Honorable Eugene Sue, go ahead.
Asago. That in the United States can so of a card that I'll see. So it's not really an announcement, but it's in regards to the status of the Navajo Nation school board reporting. And I went to litigation. Maybe we can hear from the election supervisor and Department of Justice and Navajo Nation Supreme Court Chief Justice. Quite odd, next week, next meeting. Or give them time to the next meeting. And then the March. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Honorable Eugene. So, Mr. Abeta, are you still on the line with us? Mr. Chad Abeta, are you still on the line?
Dana.
Oh, go ahead, Dana.
Yeah, no, this is Dana. I'm on the line. I don't think Chad is any longer, but I apologize. I heard what Delegate Eugene So was requesting. So my take is that because there is current litigation, it would not be appropriate to hear from the Supreme Court, but you certainly could probably hear from the Department of Justice, who is handling the litigation, also the Department of Education, and the election office, although it's not yet too much of an election office issue. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Dana. So with that, I don't think we'll be able to listen to that report, Shad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn? Motion made by Honorable Eugene So. Can I get a second?
Second, Delegate James.
Second made by Honorable Vince James. Sherelle, can you assist us with the roll call vote, please?
Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Otto So, how do you vote? Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting, which is including Honorable Madam Chair Charles Newton not voting, Honorable Otto So not voting, and Honorable Edmund Yazzie absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Sherelle. So with that, we do have a motion, a second, and a vote has been taken. It is now 1:42. We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, Law and Order Committee members. Until the next time we meet, you guys be safe out there.
I